What insight do you have, if you put your investment banker cap on, into the investor demand for Merdeka Battery and this IPO? And what does it tell us about how Indonesia is positioning itself in the global EV value chain?
Sure, absolutely. I think when we look at investor behavior over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, a lot of investors are trying to insulate themselves from the macro uncertainty that's kind of plaguing the markets, especially on account of Fed and a number of other factors which are beyond their control. When they want to look at IPOs and they want to look at companies which are beyond the realm of public markets, they want to look into domestic consumption growth, which is one big factor, and second is the global structural changes and global thematics that they want to play. I think Indonesia in some ways is actually a combination of both. When you look at a domestic market which has got a population the size of US almost with 270 million people, and second the global EV value chain domination which is beginning to come in. So I think Merdeka in some ways kind of plays into both. It is the single largest asset of nickel across the globe in terms of the mining asset, and that absolutely is something that the investors cannot miss.
Sunil, I don't want to, I guess, try to pick straws here, pick hairs here, because they both did really well when they IPO'd. We're also talking about Harita Nickel, which is the biggest IPO a week before Merdeka Battery. And again, if you're talking about 11.3% above their IPO price, which I believe is where Merdeka is, and 12.5% higher above their IPO price for Harita, I mean, you're pretty much grasping at straws here. But you might even argue that Harita did a little bit better than Merdeka Battery Materials during this IPO. Is there any reason why perhaps they saw they did marginally better over these last 2 weeks, or is it just too soon to tell? Actually,
when we look at IPO performance, we look at it over a period of time. Okay. In these cases, you had Merdeka, which has actually had 2 days of trading history, while Harita has actually had a few more. I think it's very difficult to classify one or the other as a better performer on the basis of 2 weeks. Most of the investors that we interact with look at it on the basis of 6 months, 1 year, 3 year kind of performances, and that's the kind of investors we need for capital markets to perform over a period of time.
Indeed.
And in terms of the IPO pipeline for this region in Southeast Asia, I'm just wondering, does Merdeka Battery open up the floodgates to similar listings? Because there just seems to be a new flavour in terms of the technology narrative here that's shifting away from pure e-commerce.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I think e-commerce, of course, went out of fashion some time ago when you looked at technology companies across the US and across emerging markets. I think when you looked at Southeast Asia, and again with markets like Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore in some ways as well, we've had significant capital market activity there. I think what's very striking for us is the kind of capital market activity we're seeing. When we look at capital markets, we look at three kinds of activities. You look at organic capex, which is the kind of activity for growth capital. Then you look at monetization, people look at kind of selling out, and then you have balance sheet repair. I think Thailand, Indonesia are two markets where we see a lot of organic capex driven activity, which basically bodes very well for future as well.